Gerard from the Historic Places Trust. And your 10 minutes starts now.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity to make a submission to the annual plan. This submission is on behalf of Historic Places Canterbury. My name is Mark Jarrett, I'm the Chair. Just briefly, we'd like to make an observation on 500.72, City Governance and Decision Making, and it equates to the measure of levels of service. In all the times we've done deputations and submissions, etc., we've never been surveyed. Or about a process or suggestions, etc. I understand the mayor in a council meeting made some observations about the incorporating deputations within the council agenda. It wouldn't be all bad news if the council surveyed us. They'd find it would be extremely complimentary on the council's community advisory staff, on the committee's advisors, sorry, who've been extremely good and obliging and very good. So there'd be good news, but we haven't had a chance to say it. So we'd welcome the opportunity. Moving on to activities and services on community support, 500.83, the grant summary, we endorses the council's intention of keeping the level of funding for grants as unchanged. Thank you. We do make the point that the council's actions do empower the heritage team's efforts, and we should acknowledge, and we'd like the council to acknowledge and pass on our appreciation to the council heritage team who've worked hard to retain the city's heritage. And we found the heritage staff to be informed, professional, obliging and courteous. And we're very, very grateful. As regards activities and services, 500.87, and which as regards levels of service and target, etc., we fully endorse and support the council's and its intentions as outlined in the plan. Now we come to under activities and services, city planning development, 500.89. I note to the footnote, grants for Arts Centre and Landmark Heritage funding have been reduced by 0.45 and 0.3 million respectively. Historic Places Canterbury strongly disagrees with the council's intention to reduce Landmark Heritage funding by $300,000. We consider the move to be short-sighted and detrimental to the retention of our city's heritage buildings. This funding is a strong incentive to building owners who might otherwise consider demolition. Also, the grant really ensures, because of covenants, etc., that there's a betterment in retaining the city's streetscape and urban environment. So we strongly advocate for the funding to be reinstated to its current funding level. Our reasons for reinstating the $300,000 are as follows. The city is in a post-quake environment where owners are still assessing the heritage building's future. The reduced funding will have a direct negative impact on the CC Heritage Team's efforts to facilitate the retention of our heritage buildings. We know that Section 38s are still being sought and a number of heritage buildings are still at risk. 2, reducing the funding by $300,000 is significant, and it would indicate to a reasonable person that the council is reducing its commitment to our city's heritage. If there's a perception of this, the owners might adjust their motivation to retain a heritage building. We also note that in 1 year the grants will grade to 2 heritage buildings, and the proposed funding could easily be absorbed, the new level, be absorbed with one with too little left over for another. Getting to brass tacks, talking to one of the high street building owners, $300,000 will actually bring back one of the shops in the Duncan building by the estimate, fully restored and up to code. It's that straight away. The HPC, Historic Places Canterbury, requests the Council consider the landmarks grants as a mechanism for economic rejuvenation. We note the rejuvenation of the economic activity in the central city thus far, aside from the pop-up mall, are those in retained, strengthened and restored existing heritage buildings. C1, the old government building, New Regent Street, the Bollingtons building. As an example of what I mean by that, and just a straight good example is noted to me, talking to a listed heritage building owner, the latest council assessment for their building has the land at $970,000 odd, I won't give the exact amount, and the building is assessed as worth nothing. Once restored, the total value for rates assessment will be $3 million. That's a straight direct return the council will get, and it's quantifiable within 2 years. I'm not sure whether you could give a straight return or quantifiable return for some of the other investments that the council may do within the central city, that sort of return. So you will get something back for doing that. Needless to say, 2 years is a pretty good time frame for bringing the city back. We also, in addition, which I can file, we went through a workshop in 2010, and the council officials were there by, effectively you'd call him a building economist called Dominic Ripka, and I can provide the material. And he makes the points that on what he refers to as heritage rehabilitation, that 16.5% more jobs are involved in that than in new construction. So in other words, the money you spent, you get a higher employment. He makes the point on per $1 million of output, and this is really interesting, so he uses George as an example, and there are numerous that he's got there, that on computer manufacturing, they get 4 jobs per $1 million output. For new construction, it's 14.9, and for heritage rehabilitation, you get 18.1. Those jobs and money stay in the city. So your return is actually for your environment is local, the jobs don't go offshore. Whilst we're discussing heritage, so economic rejuvenation and heritage contribution, I would also like to make the observation that Historic Places Canterbury has a shop in Shop 7 and the Cathedral Junction, so the tram goes right and past, which some of you have been in there, and which we've got a lot of our heritage on display, some lost and present. We have noticed a significant increase in walk-through and people attending at the tram going past. In some fact, it's a case of 5 to 10. It is quite significant. We've also noticed too that the tram traps are coming almost like a destination path. The tourists actually follow it through. And I think continuing and closing in the loop will bring in the Bonington's building, and also, fingers crossed, maybe an incentive for CCDU to finish and start accelerating the development along the High Street Home, as you'll have heard some of you on the Community Committee and Nicky Art's deputation. That will be an incentive on High Street to bring that through and bring through, and it's a sort of a logical tie-in of those cities. Getting back to the submission for the other reasons, we are aware that the city's under stress, but we should also make the point that the council landmark is now a major source of heritage funding for private building owners. The Canterbury Earthquake Heritage Buildings Fund is finite and cannot be considered as a major contributor of funding for heritage protection in the future. Now, the landmark grant is relatively small for the overall City Council and could easily be accommodated if a less vital project were to be deferred. Underspending often occurs in other projects. And I think this is a very important point. Council projects can be and are often deferred, but the potential demolition of a heritage building through lack of grant funding results in the further decimation of our cultural heritage, and once lost, there is no opportunity for a heritage building to be resurrected in the future. Once it's gone, it never comes back. A council project can be deferred. Once it's gone, it will never come back. Thank you very much, councillors, for hearing this annual plan submission.
Good. Any questions? Pauline.
Just Mark, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but we heard this morning that we're actually currently very short of stonemasons, which I would connect there with the Arts Centre project. Have you noticed this?
No, I'm not familiar with the stonemasons, though I understood in conversation with the number of heritage projects through, and there was one discussion which was made in relation to a large heritage building in the central city, that because the project was so long and involved, there was an opportunity to set up a school for training.
Well, that's possible too. But I think that if that's the case, it's probably going to prolong the restoration time it's going to take, which in effect the funding reduction might not affect that. It's not going to stop it, it'll slow it down a bit.
I can't comment on individual cases on that one. I have to talk to the stonemasons on that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? It's all good. Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you very
Mike.
much for hearing me.
Good to see you. And the next one